Hi, everyone, and thanks again for watching. Today, I wanted to cover a couple different things. One is this topper. When I took this up to North Georgia on the highway, once we hit about 65, 70 degrees, it was vibrating. It was making a lot of bad noises. So I actually had to duct tape it there. It looks like that little gap is the culprit. And then here in the back, of course, I've still got the issues with the buttons being covered. And I wanted to go ahead and get that light set up so that I could use it. So the issue here obviously is the metal's in the way, so you can't easily operate these buttons. So I wanted to address that. And then up here on the light, as I mentioned, you can see that wire hanging. I need to go ahead and get an adapter that'll convert the 12 volt over to USB-C so I can plug it in the back there with an adapter. And then on top of that, I've got one other thing I wanted to do today. Basically, my plan is to take this thing camping and kind of do a little overlanding, I guess you would call it. And that means I would love to have internet access anywhere I go. So I went ahead and ordered the Starlink Mini, the roaming version. So I got that hardware in today along with some mounting options, basically to hook it to the ceiling inside the cab. And then I've got that stripping there that I'm going to use to cover the gap within the topper on the front there, so I'm not getting the cavitating wind issues that was causing vibration and seemed, frankly, to make a pretty dangerous situation when we're at relatively high speed on the highway. I went ahead with the duct tape just to validate and one to make sure we could continue our trip without interruption. It worked fine, so getting this kind of weather stripping that goes under a door is meant to be more of a permanent solution. So let me go ahead and start with the Starlink installation. I'm thinking more of you are probably interested in this portion, since not all of you are probably planning to get that same topper that I'm using. So it's really easy. It is just a matter of figuring out how you want to mount it. There are a lot of options out there. I actually have two or three different mounting brackets that I bought just so I could potentially position it better when I'm actually out in the field. So I have one that'll connect up to that roof rack. I have another that is stationary. There's one that's obviously built into the Mini itself, and then this one's kind of like a hammock, right? So that you can connect it to the ceiling of your Cybertruck here and aim it right out the glass. It does work great. I was surprised. I was worried with some of the shielding in that glass that maybe it would be blocking or interrupting the signal, but it works fine. Again, I'm just planning to use this more as kind of emergency, so I'm able to make phone calls and get email and that sort of thing if I'm out camping somewhere in the middle of nowhere where there's not good cell signal. So my goal isn't, streaming videos or anything like that, though technically you could go to some of the higher tier packages. I'm just going with the $55 a month Roam package, which has a pretty low data cap. I think it's like 100 gigabytes per month. I do have a link, a referral code down in the description. If you guys use it, you get 30 days free, and it gives me another 30 days free, so I'd appreciate if you would use it for that reason. Anyway, so they do have a lot of different packages. You kind of have to dig around Tesla's website, or excuse me, the Starlink website, to find the right one that you're interested in. The residential costs a lot more, or the unlimited roam costs a lot more per month. But if you're out in the field enough and you see value in that, or you are planning to do things like stream video a lot, may be worth it to you to spend that 150 plus a month. For me, again, 55 seems reasonable. I'm also using this as kind of a backup when my home broadband goes down, which happened a few weeks ago, is what really made me pull the trigger on this. Anyway, so once it's set up and plugged in, it powers up, and now you switch over to the Starlink app itself. So I'll kind of walk you through that briefly. When you fire it up, you don't even have to log in if you don't want to. You can just hit Start Setup, choose your device, in my case, the Mini, and you go ahead and pull forward is what I did away from those trees, just so I had a clearer line of sight, get a better signal. Once I was in place, you just go ahead and validate. Yeah, I plugged it in, it's fired up. And then you look for the Starlink Wi-Fi SSID. And once you're connected, you're now actually talking to the device so you can start doing all the configuration. One of the things you'll see as I go through this is not only do you want to set up your Wi-Fi, but it's also going to give you the option to go ahead and do an upgrade. I've heard from other people that you always want to stay current on the firmware because sometimes you'll actually get locked out of the network. So if you had a dish just sitting around for a couple years and it wasn't going through regular upgrades, then what I've seen happen to people is when they finally need to use that dish and they plug it in, there's no way to actually do the upgrade because they're too far behind on their firmware version. So it is important that you probably fire this thing up once a month or so, once in a while at least, to make sure you are getting those upgrades automatically and keeping current with the firmware. You wouldn't want to be obviously locked out of the network just because you hadn't been using your dish that much. Anyway, so you go ahead and set up, as I mentioned, your Wi-Fi and other settings, and then go through this upgrade process. It takes, quite a few minutes, and I'll go ahead and let it kind of run so you can see what it looks like. So I went ahead and sped this up by about 6 times or so, just so it goes a little bit faster. But you'll see, I'm getting pretty good data rates at about 45 megabits. Next, as I mentioned, software update. And this took quite a while. Now, nice thing in that interface is you notice it tells you if you have a misaligned dish. It also mentions quite a few times it takes about 12, 24 hours for it to basically allow for all the obstructions in your environment and to help tune it a little better. I assume that's because as it maintains line of sight to those satellites, if there's a tree or something in the way, it would be better for it obviously to not try to jump to the next one and to hold the one where it's currently connected as they fly by. Basically there, I'm going through the reboot process. Of course, it drops out, you get disconnected, so you've got to reconnect back in to the Starlink Mini. And again, during that reboot and startup process, right, it's trying to self-align again. And then it gives you all these great statistics so you understand exactly how good of a signal you're getting, if you're online or not, etc. So I will probably do some speed tests out in the field at some point. So getting back to the topper, obviously we were kind of at that first step, which is to get rid of the duct tape I had used to temporarily seal that gap that was causing the issue with wind. Basically, again, what was happening is the wind was getting under there, causing it to vibrate pretty violently. I mean, it was loud, and it would have definitely over time worked some of those nuts and bolts apart, which could have been very dangerous to have these pieces get even more loose. I could see where, potentially maybe it could hit the truck on the glass there and maybe cause some damage. So it is important to take care of this. Now that I've removed all of the duct tape, kind of next step is I want to go ahead and get this surface as clean as possible. So I'm just using microfiber and some rubbing alcohol to go ahead and get any of the leftover tape residue, etc. off. And then that will prepare the surface so I can go ahead and use the primer. So this kit actually comes with primer that'll help the adhesive stick to the surface. And if you kind of look at the package here, I mean, it's basically a little wipe, of course. It is a little scary, though, when you read the back and you look at all the cautions. So I went ahead and found some gloves to make sure that I wasn't going to cause any damage to my skin, apparently. And basically the way this reads is you need to apply it and then wait about 5 minutes before you try to stick the door sweep onto the surface. So while that primer was spending the 5 minutes there, I went ahead and paid my attention back to the light on the rear of the topper. And basically on Amazon, I found a real nice component that'll convert 12 volts output from a USB-C input. And basically those little dip switches on the top allow you to set what voltage you want on the output. And so I went ahead and tested this first with a battery and then with a USB adapter. It is drawing quite a bit of power apparently off the light because it would not work through a lower power USB adapter. You do need to work with a pretty decent one, like something around 35 watts plus is what I found. Works great, but this light is nice. It's going to be good basically when I'm out camping if I want to light up the back of the vehicle area. Next, as I mentioned, the topper panel here on the back left actually blocks the buttons to operate the tonneau or to drop the tailgate. So I wanted to go ahead and address that as well. You know, my plan here was basically to remove it and hopefully try to find a way to bend the metal up just a bit so that I could fit my hand underneath when I wanted to use it. I found this low-cost ratchet set on Amazon and picked it up just to keep in the truck from now on. Not the highest quality, but I figure it's good enough when I need to make adjustments in the field without having to carry my larger set there. And it was, you know, like a $10 purchase, nothing big. Anyway, so if you watch my installation video, it's pretty straightforward. You've got the nuts on the inside and the bolt on the outside. You basically use a hex on a drill driver to do the work for you, and then you use that ratchet set just to hold the nut, you know, in place as you remove the bolt. So it only takes a couple minutes to remove this. There's 4 of these, 3 up the side, 1 on top. So I'll go ahead and fast forward through this a bit. I tried a couple of different approaches when it came to actually bending the metal, and unfortunately it's just brute force that worked with a small sledgehammer. So let me show you that real quick. Then once that was done, it was just a matter of reinstalling it. And again, the thing you have to be careful here is to make sure you use all the washers, the lock nuts, or excuse me, lock washers, nuts, etc. And it's just doing what you did in reverse. One of the things I find that makes this a lot easier again is to go ahead and line up, you know, the nut, the washer, the lock washer in between the two in your right hand, and you know, push it into place, hand tighten, and then come back with that driver to actually tighten everything down. But you know, whole install just takes a couple minutes here to get this addressed and fixed, and it's definitely worth it. Now that the primer's had its 5 minutes, a little longer actually, it's time to go ahead and put the door sweep on the top to block that gap. Again, what was happening when I was going at high highway speeds is the air was getting underneath that and basically vibrating that whole piece to the point that it felt like it would probably loosen the nuts over time. So it definitely felt like a safety issue. So if you are going to install this topper, you want to make sure you address this in some way, and definitely take it for a test drive like I did prior to a long road trip. Otherwise, you're going to have to do what I did and do some emergency repairs with duct tape on the road there versus doing a better, cleaner installation at home. So again, I found this, it's a door sweep to basically, you know, seal that gap under an exterior door. So it's got some really good adhesive. It's heavyweight, heavy duty, very relatively inexpensive up on Amazon. And I will go ahead and add a link down below so you guys can find it. It seems to be working great. After installation, I did go ahead and run down the highway up to we'll say over 70 miles an hour in a 75 in a excuse me a 70 mile per hour zone. And I did use a camera just to validate that nothing odd was going on with it. It is working great. So I'm probably just going to keep an eye on it and make sure that if I hear any odd wind noise or again hear any of that vibration, that I'll double check to make sure that this hasn't moved or in some way gotten blown up or something like that. Again, installation is pretty straightforward, right? I'm just making sure that I'm covering that gap all the way across and adhering it, of course, to the topper, not to the truck. Basically where I had applied that primer. And then here from the other side, of course, I'm just trimming the excess. It was a bit longer strip than obviously the width of the topper itself. So a pair of scissors does a quick job. Well, as always, thank you very much for watching today. And please do remember to subscribe and to like. It does help the channel. Also down in the comments, if there's anything you want to see or if you have any questions, I am always happy to take your ideas and make another video to hopefully clarify things for you. If you are somebody about to receive a Cybertruck, that's awesome. If you're thinking about buying a Cybertruck, I'd highly recommend it, to be honest. And I do have a calculator down in the description as well that you can go to and play around with to understand exactly how much money this truck can save you. So with that, I'll just leave you with some video of the test.